in Pensacola, there is that group of people that say King James only, but their basis isn't.
The Ruckmanites.
Yeah, that's wrong too. What they do, it's
Ruckmanites. Yeah, that the King James is the only Bible and there's none other. That it was doubly inspired, and the Texas Receptus is not. So, you have to do that too.
Yeah. So. Again, you have to trust the Holy Spirit to guide you down this path because,
But have to know within the group of truth, Satan's going to try to dissuade people more than they can. So there's going to be those double agents all around in there, especially wherever you're getting the flack and wherever you're right over the target or you have the truth, you're going to have a lot of the deception within it trying to deceive us. There's also another, the Christian Fundamental Baptists over there. Pensacola Christian College, which is King James only probably. Does a pretty conservative. I don't know too much about him, but like Bob Jones University, number one, it's complete apostasy.
Yeah.
Perverse versions. He even has a star and his name in the middle of the school. I have a friend of mine lives in Greenville, and in the school, and you can't walk over his name. Oh, they'll arrest you. And it's so legalistic.
Yeah.
And from what I've realized, he's got all these Masons on his board there, and he's been the main one that brought in the heresies of the Westcott and Hort and all the perverse versions into all the fundamental Baptist churches, independent Baptists.
Well,
right there, Bob Jones University, which we thought that but my eyes was open when he allowed George Bush to come speak there.
Yeah.
Going, who's this guy? And he allowed Clinton. He allows, I don't know if he allowed Clinton, but I knew he allowed George Bush. That was my red flag there.
Yeah.
Why would he allow this person and not expose him?
Yeah, exactly.
So Bob Jones University is another one of them out there that's pretending to be in our camp. That's not.
Yeah. Yeah, these are interesting, exciting, challenging, awesome days. The thing to do is, Jesus said, if you abide in me and I abide in you, my word abides in you, that's where the place to be. That's where we find peace.
If not, we will be burned up.
Yeah.
If you're not abiding in the branch, if you're not abiding in the root and the branch, and then we will be burned up.
Yeah. Well, and again, we need to be willing to lay down our lives. We're talking earlier about, defending yourself and, getting your guns or your whatever. That is not what Jesus taught. He taught us to die.
It was the farthest thing from his mind.
Yeah.
And it should be the farthest thing from our mind. Everybody's worried about little old me. It's all about me. And what about me and my flesh and my happiness and my comfort and my security and my country and my family and my and no care of lost souls.
Yeah. Well,
you said when all this after you got back from there, you went over to New Orleans to do a little bit of missionary work. How'd that go? After Katrina.
Yeah. It was sad to see the mess and the devastation because it was just overwhelming, like a bomb went off, especially in the 9th Ward where we were staying. And it was a secular organization I went with. I just wanted to go and help. And
is that the guy I interviewed? Yeah.
Yeah, it probably was.
They were shocked by what happened down there.
And
what our government did.
Yeah.
And they truly believe it was a planned event. If you look at August 29th, 2-9 equals an 11, okay? And if you look at what they did to all the blacks down there and shipped them all out, and who knows if they'll ever return, and who knows what happened to them all.
Yeah.
But this same event occurred almost 100 years ago, and 3,300,000 blacks were shipped up to Chicago and left, and then the ones that were left here were used as slaves in the 1927. This is the third time that New Orleans is flooded. They bombed the levees then. That's in the encyclopedias. What they did then. But it's amazing that it's one day after Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream on August 28th. And what was it? I forget what year it was. But anyways, it's amazing that I researched that up because someone told me they thought it was the exact same day yesterday. But I looked it up. It was the day before Katrina hit. And you see what happened when all these folks, what they did to the blacks and all those. But as many people that listen to us on shortwave don't have a problem with that because they're Calvinist, they're Aryan race, they're Christian identity, and they believe the blacks, everybody with blonde hair and blue eyes are the only elect. And the blacks and the Mexicans and the homosexuals are unelect, and they'll never. And it's no big deal what happened in New Orleans.
I was down there. I was helping, gut a house. I mean, that was the main job of this particular group, was gutting houses. They give away food and clothes, etc. But
gutting house is an important thing. Got to do it.
Oh yeah, and it's hard labor, and but I was down there talking to some of the owners and people that were down there, and they were saying, yeah, they blew the levees. They were there, they saw it, they heard it. And I was surprised because I didn't know all the history of all that. And then when I came back, I started doing some research, and I saw that this is seems to be like a regular occurrence, and that to bring the flooding will go into that part of New Orleans as opposed to going into the French district.
The other parts, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was, to me, obvious, and the fact that Katrina came and went and everything, and that's why people came back, because the Katrina, it was over, and then the next day
they went back to their homes.
Yeah, and then
24 hours later,
then the levees
were blown.
Yeah,
and I really believe that they tried to guide that in as a Hurricane 5 or 6. A Hurricane 6 is what happened in the fake documentary that occurred on June the 5th last year, an 6/5 last year on the FX station. They did a fake, and I sent that to Dave Bay. I don't have a copy of it anymore. They did a fake documentary on a Category 6 hurricane hitting New Orleans, devastating all the oil refineries in our country, going into anarchy and police state. And so there's a fake document. They did lots of fake documentaries. National Geographic did a fake documentary a year in advance with pictures and everything. I guess the pictures were from the 1927 when the last flood, when they bombed the levees then. And so, I mean, all these fake documentaries and all the numbers that were coincided, that this storm messed up. And their scalar technology and their HARP or whatever, and they're creating these storms, they don't have it down to a complete science. They're going to try to do 6 and 06 this year, I suppose. And they're going to try to bring one up here in Mobile. I can gather from some of the news stories that's out there. I believe they'll try to send another one into New Orleans, and this time try to do a better job. What happened was probably the hand of God.
Yeah, I was going to say, God's bigger than those storms.
Yeah, probably the hand of God messed them up. And number one, it came down to a category. And I could tell my husband, he don't really believe me. There's only 3 people that know what the real true speed of that hurricane is out there in the Gulf. The guy that's flying the plane over and the guy that's reporting it that works for the National Weather. They're the only 2 that really know, and maybe there's 2 pilots in that plane. They're the only ones that really know. When they come to us that it's this many miles per hour and that many, and then when it comes ashore, it's only a Category 1, and it's a Category 2. It had a lot of water in it, and that was probably the scalar technology there. It had huge tsunami type event here that occurred here in Alabama and in Mississippi. This never happened before on that size of a storm. It had more water surge than we'd ever seen before. And they're expecting more this year because they've gotten good at that, I guess. But here you have, they wanted that storm to destroy the oil refineries, and it didn't work. And I bet you they're going to go after it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So we know that they're doing that, but the God's little hand pushed that thing and slowed it down, if he slowed it down, or if it was ever even really a 5. I think they use that as fear-mongering. Yes. We wake up in the morning, we see that it's 196 miles, and we all freak. I didn't. Because I'm like, only one person knows that, and how can we trust 2 people in the whole country to tell us how fast that thing's going?
Good point.
It's only 2 people that know. So, and then it comes in, it's a Category 1 in New Orleans, and it's a Category 2 or 3 in Mississippi.
You mean it came in as a 1?
Yeah. That's all it was.
Wow.
It was the water. There was no damage hardly. Maybe some windows blown out in one little hotel there in New Orleans, but it was no damage till they blew the levees 24 hours later. I mean, even September the 9th, 911, I have the story. I got a copy of it. It's on my webpage. It says, the chief of police, the title of the story is Order Out of Chaos. That's the title of the Associated Press story. They're interviewing the chief of police, the one that resigned, and he says, we missed the bullet. And I woke up the next morning in New Orleans and missed the bullet, and I was waking up next morning, getting my son, packing him up, taking him back to Tulane, when all heck broke loose. And that came out September the 11th, and the title of it was Order Out of Chaos. I'm going, God, these people are blatant, aren't they?
Yeah, in your face, all the numbers. I mean, it's... Once you tune into it, you see it everywhere.
Yeah, you start seeing them everywhere. You see and that's witchcraft too, sorcery, and their numbers that they use. I believe there's powers behind them.